Okay, so hello everyone. Today I'm glad to have Ben and Molly with me to discuss about the LCP teams. We're going to go through all the LCP teams, and we are going to talk about the roster, who to watch out, and we discuss about how the week one games go on. So let's begin. So the first team,
Hello.
yeah, hello, yeah. Okay. Anyway, so the first team that we're going to talk about is Chief. Okay, from OCE. Maybe Ben, you can talk about them first.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, Chiefs, for anyone that doesn't know, is the historical most successful organization in Oceania. A bunch of the players, of course, as well, have been traditionally some of the most successful. Lemus in the AD carry position, as well as Biopanther up top, and Mea also, I believe, in 2021. Played a split with the Chiefs Esports Club and went undefeated. Went to Worlds with them as well. Wasn't too successful at Worlds, but I mean, historically, Oceania hasn't typically been. But I think here, looking at their roster with, Bio top, Mea in the jungle, Jimmy and Lemus, mid and bot, and then Luon in the support role, I think they've got the foundation of what can be a very solid roster if it's able to come together. You've obviously written it down here as well that the difference in language can become a big obstacle. So that will be something that will be hard for them to get past. Like Jimian primarily speaks in Mandarin, Luon primarily speaks in Korean. Mea, he's very capable of both languages, but in terms of Korean and English, but it's going to be difficult for them to get past that.
Yeah, I'll just tag on to that. They've got a lot of issues to grow upon. So the language being the main issue, I guess, but I think just getting to know each other, and this is a year-long project. It's not the start. We expect them to kind of suck when they're coming in. If they finished 8th, I don't think anyone would complain. They're completely chill with that. The goal is to ramp up for summer, slowly build, and this idea that OS can actually have a fair shot of having decent scrims, Korean solo queue environment, it allows the coaches as well as the 2 or 3 players to improve, and then you hope throughout the year we see some progression, and then if they're able to stay up in the postseason, and then moving on to next year, they can continue to grow upon the good base they've built. So I think even if they do suck or not look so great at the moment, it's kind of expected or whatever, and a lot of teams have this issue at the start. So I'm hopeful for them, but it's going to take a little time.
Yeah, for me, like the interesting part is about like what Bio and Limas, when they come to Taiwan, that they can have more scrims with the better teams, because like before in the OC, I don't think they really have a chance to scrim with like the teams around here, maybe even the Korea or Chinese teams. So I don't think they can play the Korean solo queue right before.
No, they could.
No, yeah. For reference, like if you're in Oceania, be it Australia or New Zealand, if you play on the Korean server, you have like minimum 120 ping. Like that is the absolute least amount you can have. So it's pretty impossible to play. I think if you live in Perth, and we had one team try that. They lived in Perth. It was Pentanet GG. They were scrimming with PCS teams. 2023 or 2023. And so, but even then, like even if you're in Perth, I believe they were playing on something like 60 to 80 ping. So that's just to play on the Taiwan server, right? And I mean, I imagine, I don't know, but I imagine that the quality of Taiwanese solo queue is pretty similar to Oceanic solo queue.
So
maybe worse.
Yeah, so I don't think you get a lot out of that. Obviously, the ability to scrims, like 60 ping, is absolutely doable.
Yeah.
At least you scrim. But yeah, other than that, there's just no way to do anything but practice with local Oceanic players.
You also think like Bio and Limas is like 2 of the best Australians they can get, right? Like from last year on? Or actually, are there any better players should be on the roster, you think?
I think in terms of like local Oceanic talent, I think Biopanther is probably our best top laner. You even like I would even say if you compared him to people like Fudge, I would still probably take Biopanther because I just think he's like a much more solid player. Like you look at him in the past PCS splits, right? Like in 2023, the only game Oceania won was off the back of Biopanther on the Renekton. Like he was just having a really good game. In the 2024 even, he played very, very well. He was getting counterpicked and still winning those matchups, and I think he's kind of the only player in the top lane anyway that can do it. For Lemus, I think with what options are available, Lemus is probably the best player, simply because he is a very good role player, right? Like, you put him on something and he's always going to do reasonably well. He's never going to be the reason you lose the game. He will sometimes be the reason you win, right? We saw that last year when he was on Ground Zero. I will say, though, Lost, who has played the majority of his career in NA, is easily, well, like, FBI as well, but, like, Lost and FBI are the best AD carries I think Oceania has ever produced, and with Lost not being on a team now, if it was possible for them to get Lost, I think they would have and should have, I guess.
Oh yeah, so I mean, like, yeah, there's some Australians that I think is kind of worth a try at least, like, yeah. But also for Chief, like, one of the unexpected roster is Luan, which is in SK last year, right? So from what I remember for him, it's like he's kind of doing pretty well in the first half of the year in LEC. Like, with Rahel, he's always winning links, right? But somehow in the second part of the year, like especially in the summer, it's kind of like localized, in my opinion. But still, I still have a high hopes on him with Limas, like how they can win the lanes or try to at least even the around, like in LCP. So
Yeah,
I think,
in
like,
Europe it's the standard. The Korean goes to Europe, they start off really, really, really hot, and then as they adjust to European solo queue and practice, and as teams kind of realize, oh, this player's a very good hands player, so they start to play differently around them. So when Rahel and Luan first started playing, they just hands diffed everyone. Every game was just Rahel 1v9, and he had a really good support. But once they moved into the BO3s, teams started to realize, oh, SK's only win con is bot lane. So teams kind of played around it, and it became a lot easier to manage. And I think Luan is going to struggle now, where maybe hands diffing some players here is potentially a little bit harder, but he also has to deal with a lot more team issues. So it's harder for him to just like smurf with a really strong bot lane and then a mid lane who's like perma-ganking bot, which SK had. So SK had a very easy, hey, let's just stall it in a very strong bot lane, whereas Chiefs, it's not like that. So his European form and his LCP form is going to be pretty damn different.
Yeah. I want to ask one thing. Obviously, we've got other teams to talk about, but to like both of you, it's like my opinion basically that like every team needs like an X player, right? Like the X factor that will be the reason they win. And obviously, I think Biopanther is very much a role player. I think Lemus is a role player. Sure, they can occasionally carry you a game. Who on this roster stands out to you as like, okay, if we had to rely on one person to be able to carry, one person that can, get a lead and then actually win the game with it, who would it be? Because, like, in my opinion, I look at Mare and Jimmy as that sort of those two players.
I actually thought of Bio, to be honest, because I know Jimmy pretty much well, right?
Yeah.
And like Jimmy, in my opinion, is also kind of a team player, not just a solo laner. To be honest, like his laning is kind of bad, especially the games when last week, like they go against Fofo, he just got fucked so much. And like with other mid laners, like in the LCP, is kind of better than last year. So I think he was kind of struggle in the laning phase again. But like from the last year that I've with him, like one of the advantages, or one of the best thing he brings to the team is like how to do the rotation and some little bit coarse. But since there's a language barrier here, I don't know, can he like show that to the team?
Yeah, I think the X factor they have to rely on, in my opinion, is Mur, because like we say, Jimmy in laning it's not very strong compared to the other LCP talent, and that's kind of hard to like push through. But I think what they need to leverage with Mur is just the jungle support capabilities they have, with both of them being Korean. I'm pretty sure in games they just speak Korean to each other when they need to pull each other, and they have to be like these pretty popular and like pretty well-known Korean teams where jungle support just walk around together. I've been watching a lot of EU lately for obviously my reasons, and I watched a lot of BDSA last year, which had Skymond and Paris, and they were a really, really good example of just jungle support walking wherever they want with quote-unquote weaker laners, and they just ran the map. So maybe Chiefs can try to take that approach, but learning to play through jungle support and having weak laners is just a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Sure. Do you think anything we can take out from last game? I mean, like from their games last week. Yeah, no, right?
No.
Well, I mean, I will say like their game one was pretty decent. for the majority of it. Obviously, there were like hands gaps that happened. Like I remember specifically, there was one moment where like Jimmy and he could have got a reset on Ariel, but it got cancelled by a Sejuani Q, and that kind of like tipped the game on its head. And yeah, I mean, it just became a lot harder there because Fofo picked up like a triple kill on Corki.
Yeah.
But I think like game 2 was a complete write-off. They kind of just got gapped across the entire map. But I think game 1 showed signs of life, and I also think for them, they went against the best team in the league. At least that's my opinion. I think Talon are just the best team in the league. They versed them week number 1 with, you know, a team that's just newly formed, a bunch of people that don't speak the same language. So I think, honestly, you can kind of just write it off. You don't have to look too deep into it and like care so much that you lost to Talon, because it should be expected.
What do you guys think, like, at the end of the split? Like, this split, like, what will be their position?
I'd say, like, maybe after split 1, probably, like, 6th or 7th would be my guess. I don't think they're the worst team in the league.
Okay.
I think we find out today. I think it's going to be Chiefs or DFM. Whoever loses today is 8th. Whoever wins can push up a little bit. But if you lose today, I think all momentum is killed for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. But also, like, from the potential of the team, to be honest, I think they are not a very high ceiling. Don't have a really high ceiling. Maybe, like, if like I put Talon at like 10 points, and maybe, to be honest, like, this roster give me only about like maybe 5 or 6, to be honest. I don't know, will they try to make some changes later on, but yeah, the potential rise, I think it's a very difficult for them, to be honest.
Okay. I think it just comes down to if they can work out communication. I honestly think like the parts are very good. Like I don't think anyone in top lane will get by Panther that much. I genuinely don't. I think he's going to hold his own. Mia is genuinely a very, very good individual talent. Like, he is a good jungler. Would I compare him to Junja? Maybe not. But he is still, like, you know, a very good jungler. I don't think he's a bottom of the pack jungler by any means. And Jimmian, you know, over the past 3 years has been a top 3 mid laner in the PCS pretty much the whole time. So individually, I think they're there and they can, like, I wouldn't be so confident in saying they're going to get to Worlds. Like, I wouldn't say they're top 3, but I do think they can push to, like, show there are signs of life.
Yeah, let's hope them they can grow. Okay, anyway, let's move to the next one. So, CFO. Again, like, many, kind of big roster change, to be honest. Like, they've got Junja, okay, and they move away from Gori and using the new one, that's highly expected mid laner, Hongkyu. And then Doggo come back from UP, and of course Kaiwing from like Frank last year, like my team. And to be honest, a very exciting roster, because Kaiwing, especially about Kaiwing, like, he always said that he wants to have a jungler like Junja, and finally he got Junja now. So I was so he's actually very excited before the season start. I still have so many discussions and talks with him, and he has high hopes on himself also. So it's interesting.
Okay. Well, Molecule, do you want to lead us off?
Well, I think coming into the split, I ranked this team 2nd because I heavily expected the teams that were coming into Taiwan to struggle a lot more with acclimatizing. I think we have seen that already, that teams are struggling, I guess. Things we know about their living situations and visas, whatever, everything's been quite stressful for the other teams. And CFO's been scrimming since December, so I really expected them to come in quite hot. They didn't come in as hot as I thought. They've been a little bit underwhelming, but they did start 2-0. And I guess that's all they need to do is just keep racking up the series, build some confidence. The team is built, I think, quite well. They have a lot of experience around Hongkyu. Now, the first two series, he played pretty poorly. Not even just by the standards we might hold for a rookie, but just in general, because we've all seen him play enough in amateur to know that he's not playing at his level, but he's also gonna struggle for a while. It looks like he's a little bit off the pace. But I think another concern is top lane, like Driver and Rest. I thought I was pretty confident Driver was just gonna start, and then we see them flip-flopping, which could suggest that hey, scrims aren't going too well for either of these. We keep swapping them around. We don't know who our top laner is. And you know very well in FAK, if you keep swapping players,
so
half your scrims are a bit annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like
Yeah, I mean,
you,
you go.
yeah, you go, you go.
Okay, I just want to say, like, you know, watching the streams and whatnot, it feels so weird seeing Junja in the CFO colors. You know, because like the past 2 years, it's kind of like, at least for me, in my eyes, like the story has always just been PSG Talon and now Talon versus CFO, and Junja has been the jungler for Talon the whole time, and now just seeing him in like in the CFO colors just blows my mind. It feels so wrong to me. But yeah, sort of on what Molecule said as well after just that. I think so far from what we've seen, Driver did appear to do better. Like the rest Jack's game, don't get me wrong, he played completely fine, but they have just won every game with Driver so far. And I think Doggo has been pretty underwhelming. That's like my big thing is like sure Honkyu's been underwhelming. He is a rookie, you know, he's like it's more expected of him, but Doggo's just come back from the LPL and he didn't have the greatest time over the LPL, don't get me wrong. But you'd expect him to come here and verse the people he's versing and kind of look like a standout AD carry, right? And I didn't see that at all from him in their first 2 series.
Yeah, to be honest, I think he's doing like fine, but not really outstanding on any means. Yeah, like I think CFO like Junja and Doggo and Karen, like they're kind of like a Avengers team for me, to be honest. Like all 3 of them have some many things to prove, right? So Doggo coming back from LPL, cause I don't know, do you guys know the story? And I think like before like two years ago, Doggo also mentioned that he won't be coming to coming back to PCS. As there's no way that he will be coming back. So when he comes back now, everyone have some bad words against him on the media side. So I think he wants to prove that he can still be one of the best AD carry that Taiwan have produced. And for Kaiwing again, like he didn't go to Worlds for the last 2 years, right? So he also like no, it's 3 years actually. Yeah, so only 3 years. So he's want to prove himself again. Like he still got it, even though like he is now 28, right, and 29 this year, I think. Yeah, something like that. And also Junja, I would say like kick out from Talon. I think that's the case, to be honest. And he wants to prove himself like he's still worth it, and that Talon make a mistake by changing him from caster. So yeah, there's many great storylines going on with the CFO. Oh, plus like their coaching staff. They add Chawi and Mulala. Mulala actually is on their academy team for like 2 years. Another side, Chawi, I think everyone knows him. Like he gone to like TSM also a few years ago, but didn't do coaching. Maybe he will start a bit slow. Maybe he needs to get the rust off. Maybe he needs to learn more about how to do things nowadays. There are some pretty big changes in like how to communicate with the peoples, but I think he'll be fine.
He also said a funny way of pronouncing Lemus's name.
Yeah. Well, at least he can pronounce it now under the table.
What do you think of their first 2 series?
I mean, the clear best game was the first game of their second series, right, where Junja is just completely running the map as Zyra. I think that game looked like their highs, like that's how you imagine they should look. And I think the rest of the games, while they ended up winning the series, I think it was just like, okay, they won, but this is not really how you expect CFO to look. Like you expect them to be really winning, you know. At least that's how I sort of picture this team coming in, because Kaiwing has been one of the best supports in the region for the past 2, 3, 4 years. Doggo, obviously LPL AD carry, coming back now from the LPL. Kind of just seemed like a, you know, not a bad AD carry by any stretch of the imagination, but just it felt like you could have had Shun here and nothing much changes. And then Honkyu is, I mean, he's just a rookie. He had, you know, he played fine. He didn't play that great. I think out of all the mid laners that played, he had one of the poorer first 2 series, or poorer series at all. And yeah, I don't know. I think Driver has been playing better top, and Junja's just been playing pretty solid overall.
To be honest, like the Junja, I feel kind of different for him, like nowadays, compared of course to the PSG ones. Like before, he had Maple and RG, like 2 of the best laner in in the league. So he don't really care about much. But with Honkyo and maybe Driver or even Rest, I think like at least those three players can be compared with Maple or Azi, right? So I think Jinja style may got fucked, to be honest, and he needs to try to change his playstyle to help more on like the solo lanes now.
Yeah, I agree. But if all else fails, I'm sure they can just give Maple some money, and
I mean,
they'll
that's a
make worlds.
solution. Yeah.
I genuinely think if by split 3 they are not very strong, Maple just gets a bag and they go straight to worlds. I think it's just almost like an automatic qualification if they did that. It's like a cheat code. It'll probably cost them a lot of money, but hey, it might come to that towards the end of the year. And it's not even dependent on Honkyu. It's not saying anything bad about him, but he's not Maple this year. He might be in 2 years, 3 years. But if they're failing this year, you could just throw Maple in and they automatically go first or second, in my opinion. But obviously, you don't want to stunt his development, but there's only so much you can do with 2 Taiwanese teams in the league at the moment. Maybe next year there'll be more space for him and other players, but it does kind of feel like he has a lot of pressure behind him because there's only 2 Taiwanese teams. There's a lot of good players in PCS who probably deserve to play LCP, but hopefully we will see more of them next year. But I think CFO in general, I think as long as they just keep churning out some wins, I don't think they care too much about Split 1. Split 2 is when teams start to care about.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about the next one. So DFM. I'm glad that Aria finally got a jungle, to be honest. Like he's still stuck with Steel like for the past few years. I think like Steel is just a very medical jungler, and Guwon, one of the he's in T1 Academy, right? And I think like I scrimmed with them like 1 or 2 times ago before, and he feels like very strong independently. At least the mechanical side is very good. So I'm really have a high hopes on him. But last week he actually fumbled so hard on stage. So yeah.
You can go, Ben.
Yeah, okay. I just want to say, like, with the graphic here, they've actually changed their AD carry. They have was it Kakun? Yeah. And I think I think we just have to like pay tribute to the fact that it is going to be pretty hard for DFM to ever win a series if he plays the same way he played last week, because I think any one of us 3 could have subbed in and done the same. It was like, I don't want to be too harsh because he is a mid laner, but it was like, yeah, I don't know. There's a sizable difference between the AD carries in DFM and Team Secret Wales, and I think that has to be changed. That has to be fixed very quickly.
Well, I don't think we can say much, but I think he might be here to stay for the long run. He is role swapping like permanently, as far as I'm aware. So I guess he's learning AD carry. So you can kind of like a perks sort of thing where he is fully committed to learning AD. He's not some random subbing in on a role he's never played. I think they did kind of cuck him in draft where they dropped him to 4-5 one game, and there was like 5 or 6 AD carries banned out. And why would you ever do that with your like auto-filled AD carry? I have no idea, but they did.
Kaiser, yeah.
So I don't know what that plan was, but yeah, that was a plan. But overall, DFM, they look pretty terrible.
Yeah. But also like from the screams that I've heard and talking about the players, actually they are doing pretty well. Like even actually Kaiwing, the CFO screamed with DFM, and actually they do pretty well in scrims. Like they got games from CFO, and like CFO is not a free win against them. So maybe DFM is a scrim team because Ari and Guan, I really trust them that they are doing pretty good. Like they have the talent to do good, I would say. And also Area is like the father of Pretender and GBN also like last year in scrims, but on stage he's kind of weak like compared to what he did in scrim. So yeah, DFM. And also for whoever like they got for AD maybe in the future or just staying with Kakun, still need to step up. But in the other hand, Reifaki, like I don't think he can get like we can get any better Japanese top laners, to be honest. So they will stick with him also. But hopefully this meta stays and he can play more on the support top laner side. So like the tanks and maybe more Cassante on. So yeah.
Time for the return of Udapon top lane. Might be
Well, I
time.
mean, going back to AD, maybe
I guess we didn't talk about that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
Udapon, he has taken his break. It's not a full retirement, but I think this could be something similar to what I talked about with Maple. It comes to split 2 or 3. DFM's like, here's a bag. He's like, sure thing. He comes back. DFM shoot up the standings. That sort of thing. Seems quite possible, I guess. But he is very old, so taking a break is probably quite reasonable for him. I don't know how long of a break it is, but we'll see.
The behind the scene things that I heard why he didn't play is not only for like resting or take a break, but it's more like he doesn't want to stay in Taiwan like for a long time.
For a long time. Okay.
Yeah. So that may be kind of a bit fucked on the FM side. They really need him, to be honest.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think they look a lot better if they have Udapon. He's just like your epitome of an ADK, right? Like he's like never ever would you look at Udapon and be like, okay, this guy lost us the game. I don't even remember, at least in my mind, I don't remember a single time that's happened. It might have happened years and years ago, but at least, you know, especially over the last 2 years, that never happened. In fact, generally, if they won, it was off the back of him and Arya, and I think they certainly
on stage.
Yeah, I think we certainly saw a noticeable difference between 2024 DFM, which, you know, had Udapon, and obviously they didn't have Guwon at the time, compared to now. I don't think Guwon's the reason for that, and so I don't know what can possibly happen, or if Udapon's like, you know, yeah, okay, I'll come over for a couple splits instead of the entire year, but I think there is a massive difference, and I don't think it's a difference that will be patched up by playing AD carry for a couple more scrim sets.
Where do you guys like rank DFM? Like
at the moment, 7 or 8.
No, not at the moment. We all know where to rank them at the moment. But like, yeah, at the end of the year. What's the potential ceiling?
I think if whoever that AD carry is, let's say it's not Udapon, let's say it stays as Cocoon, and he can learn to play some of the Udapon champions. And what I mean by that is it enables Harp to play range supports, which gave them a really big advantage last year and in previous years, because most of the time in PCS, absolutely no one can play a range champ. So Harp could, and that gave them a pretty significant draft advantage. If they can somehow enable Harp to do that again, it does just open drafts up, because in this region, teams are just completely terrified of range supports. So if one team can play it, it completely morphs the draft. So if they can enable that, it patches up a lot of things and like kind of solves you and gives you winning drafts, which helps. But in general, I think this team is only going to be like at best maybe 5th.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle to see this team getting out of the bottom 2 as it stands. I just like struggle to foresee a world where something drastically changes for this team and nothing changes for the rest for them to be able to shoot up the standings is kind of where I'm struggling with. But yeah, I mean, if they can do like maybe like DCG did, but to a lesser extent, as you kind of said, Molecule, then maybe there's something massive can change. Yeah, exactly. Instead of just, you know, okay, this is what Talon's doing, or this is what Genji's doing, let's do that, and just, you know, okay, this is what works for us, we'll just play it every single game. If people want to beat it, they have to just prove they're better than us, or learn something new that counters specifically this, because teams don't seem willing to do that.
Yeah, I think like if DFM like wants to perform better, their mid and jungle will be their key again. To be honest, like in LCP, bot laner usually not that important in my opinion. Like you can have so many medical or just put it there, and yeah. But like if like Arya and Guwon can really show what at least they show in scrims, right? Then I think they can have a better place. Okay, so anyway, let's move on, and the next one we talk about will be SXG. So again, a very many roster changes on the team. Like Dasher, go back to career for the military. I think that's what I've heard. It's a very like I'm actually very surprising like that they find Fate to replace him. To be honest, I don't think it's a really good replacement. Like it's like a 50-50 one, since like Dasher is already a very fluent speaking in Japanese, right? I've like watched their voice comms on last year, and they are like all of them are fully capable of speaking Japanese. So there will be a big change, and of course on the support side, like from Fister to Gang, it's also a very big difference. One of the, of course, we lost to them like last year in the playoffs, right? So I can speak more on that. Is one of the struggles that we go against him against SSG is on the boss side. Like FAK, usually the boss side they can get some leads on their own, but against Fister, who is like one of the best player on that with them, and is an ex LCK player. He just knows so much on like how to play steady, yeah, and that enables Marble to farm up. So however, like with Gang, I don't think they can replicate that again. So the bot lane side will be a bit bad, and to be honest, from Forest change to Courage, it's also not a direct upgrade in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think that we saw kind of in their last two series that Fate is not, at least for now, an upgrade over Dasher. I think if they had Dasher and they looked anything like they looked last year, then they probably would have just done objectively better. I think obviously some of that comes down to Evie. He clearly, had one of the worst top lane performances of recent time, and you're allowed to. I feel like Evie's been pretty consistent, or very consistent, since coming back to Japan, and had one bad game. Can't really fault him for that. Everyone's kind of allowed a bad game every now and then, but there wasn't really anyone else there to pick up the slack when that happens, and it doesn't feel like, honestly, even looking back to last split, a lot of the success that I saw from SoftBank was through Dasher, right? Yeah, sure, Vista was good, and he'd have some like unique picks, and he'd always do very well in lane. But I feel like Dasher was the sort of person that if they were going to win, it came from him. Marble again was never really never struck me as a kind of AD carry that will just take over a game and win. It was always Dasher doing that. So it feels like Fate has some pretty big shoes to fill to be able to be that player for this team.
Yeah, I think this team is pretty ass at the moment, to be honest. And I think the main reason is they have the best two Japanese players, and they've somehow got the worst Koreans, which is kind of interesting how that paired up. But Fate and Dasher are the complete opposite sorts of players. Dasher was permanently in side lanes, 12 CS per minute, carrying on control mages or AD carries, and then Fate is here picking Silas, trying to 5v5 every fight, and they're just dropping so much, because you have Evie, who's permanently dropping sides, who goes like 5 CS per minute just to fight, and now they've got Fate who's doing something similar. Even though Fate is a very strong Azir, he's not the side lane threat to kind of spread the map, because Evie is the one who groups. They need someone who to actually play the sides, but now they've got a team playing top laner, a team playing AD carry, and a mid laner who isn't really a hyper carry. And then even with Courage, they, at least before they had Forest, who was like a bit of a Zyra one trick, that just adds some carry potential. This team just has no carry at the moment, and in Fearless it's pretty damn terrible because of Marble's hilarious champ pool of 3 or 4 champions. So we saw some teams, they just ban Ashe Varus and he's first picking MF, which is a joke. But in Fearless, he's just going to lose all his champions within 1 or 2 games, and they're just completely doomed. I think it's very easy to just know what they're going to draft. I think this team is just going to struggle the first split in Fearless. Once they get to split 2, it might get a bit better. Now that does sound all doom and gloom, but individually, the players do have hands. Like, they were able to take a game off GAM. They just play Wombo comps with Marble's Wombo champions, because that's all he plays, apparently. So they're just going to play shotgun comps, and some of the time it's going to work. They're going to be able to Wombo some teams, and it's going to be very snowbally. But this team is infinitely worse than last year's.
Yeah. Oh, I really hope that they somehow, if Dasher don't want to go to the military, then he can stay like with the same roster. I really have high hopes on them, although they kind of fumble during Worlds. Like they lost, they play pretty bad, I would say. Yeah, but maybe in LCP they can like have a big comeback. So it's a bit sad.
Yeah, I think Dasher was just the only reason they got to Worlds in my eyes was Dasher. I think Marble, he's a reasonably good laner. Obviously, he was besting Wako in that series a lot of the time. But ultimately, I think they never win that series, or they never even get that far without Dasher being there. And that's why I mean, like Fate either has to improve a lot so he's able to play the way he does, but just handscap everyone. Which for now, I wouldn't think he's particularly close to the best mid laner in the league. Or he just needs to sort of, as Molecule said, learn to play sides, which I think is a massive learning curve for a whole team to try and work out in the middle of a split. So it's probably a split 2 jobby.
Can we expect Fate to perform better? Like, although like I mean, he's still an LCK mid laner.
You just have like LCK like stock or whatever. So you recently played in LCK. Surely you've been pretty good, but then you come here and then you realize the competition isn't actually that terrible. Because you need to remember, like teams, LCP is like it's like the Apex Super League. You're playing with every team here is good. They're not terrible, and all of these teams have scrimmed against LPL teams or LCK Challenger League teams. I won't say everyone scrims against LCK last year because that was LCK's pretty. They don't like PCS teams, but sure. But these teams have played against good teams in scrims. They are good players. It's not like Fate's just going to come in from the LCK and just be the best player in the league. And I think a lot of people, including myself, we kind of just value that LCK stock, that he's going to be a bit better than what he's shown. He's definitely not at that level where you're like, oh, this guy's crazy good. He's like LCK level.
I think like some credit is due for SoftBank, though. They did sort of start with a pretty tough first week. They had to go against CFO, who, I mean, most of us probably have as our top 3. I know I certainly do. And then Garm, who were definitely part of my top 3. And I think SoftBank were like on the verge of that. Like they should be, I guess, by the end of the year, you'd hope. And so I think like starting up, you're against, one of the or 2 of the top 3 teams. It's like, okay, you lost these 2 series, but you should be expected to win pretty much everyone out after here. Problem is, of course, they do have Talon still waiting for them.
Yeah, I agree. On paper, I had them losing both these series, but I think just the way they lost was maybe not how I expected them to lose.
Yeah.
But again, I think they should be sitting somewhere in the middle. This is probably not going to be a 7th or 8th place team, but mainly because I think I called Evie just like the perfect player to sit in between the elites and trash. He will beat the like bottom of the table teams comfortably, but he's like he just can't beat talent level teams. So I think it's kind of interesting if they're able just to stomp some bad teams this week.
Wait, who are they going to play this week?
This week they play against Vikings.
Yes, which is another theoretically hard one, right? Vikings just beat Garm, so definitely a more difficult team of the lot.
Easy series.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to the next one. So it's about Garm again. 2 of the best players that I've witnessed in like the APAC region, Kiara and Levi. I really love their duos. Yeah, there's like it's hard to say in English, but in Chinese that we always say they're like godly duo, something like that. Yeah, especially on stage. But to be fair, they kind of slowed down last year. Yeah. And hopefully they will get it back this year. I think they kind of performing well at Worlds, but in VCS they are not really doing great either. Also looking at the whole roster, adding Ares and Artemis is very interesting choice. Like both of them are one of the best players from their respective teams last year, like Team Secret and Team Wales. So I really have high hopes on them. But also, I'm a bit curious on like, can they adapt to the game style? Cause like all the way like last year, like every time when game success, it's always like a supportive mid laner and a supportive carry, and just let Levi do their things.
Yeah, I mean, I think so far, like coming in, especially after Worlds, I was really hoping to see Levi and Kaya carry on like how success, especially Kaya, because that guy was going to Worlds and he was just dominating, right? And obviously he came in here, and I think he's probably been the 2nd best performing player on the team in my opinion. So he's obviously, I mean, he's still doing respectably well, but I think so far from what we've seen, I've been most impressed with Artemis. I think out of the games they've played so far, he's been the most consistent and always kept them in contention of winning, even when they end up losing. I think this guy has been so far the best performing, and again, they have not had the easiest start to the series, to the split. Right, they also went against SoftBank, and then they went against Vikings. They last year lost to Vikings pretty much the entire regular season, and ended up beating them at the end. So it's probably something we can expect to see again, where they just scale throughout the competition. But so far, I think Artemis has done pretty well. The rest of the map, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much par for the course of what I thought would happen again. I thought first split, they're going to come in. It's going to take them a while to adjust. I thought the Vietnamese teams would take a lot longer to kind of get used to Taiwan and just settling in. But this is just sort of the GAM style where in regular season, Kiara and Levi, it is pretty chill when they ramp up slowly. It is very common for them to play very well at international events, and if you only watch the international events, you might think, damn, they must just completely shit on everyone in VCS, but they really don't. They kind of take it very chill. They know how to ramp up. They're very experienced in that regard. And just the way they built the team is, I thought, a very unbalanced team, but not to say that it's going to be bad, because Eris and Artemis are very gold-heavy and resource-heavy players, and that just doesn't work in the GAM style with Kiara and Levi. So they need time to adjust. Now, Artemis is probably one of the better resource-heavy AD carries of the big three Vietnamese with Shogun, Slater, and Artemis. He's the one that you would want in this team, as he's probably the one who's not going to run it down if he doesn't get resources. But Eris, he's played a pretty good Galio, which surprised me, but he is also a very heavy resource player. So I think it just takes time for them to adjust, for them to realize how we're going to play the game. I thought that it would take a long time, but hey, maybe they're able to figure it out pretty quick. But it's just going to take a little bit of time. I think they have the meta read wrong. Wukong is one of the best junglers in the game. Levi can literally pick that whenever and they'll win the game. Yeah, it's one of the strongest champs. He could just pick it anywhere and they'll instantly win the game. So I'm surprised they haven't done that yet. But it's just going to take them a while to just get used to things. I think they'll ramp up slowly. They might suck in regular seasons, but they'll turn on in the playoffs. And I'm not too worried about them long term. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. They'll just slowly improve.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm a bit disappointed on Ares' performance, overall, all the all 5 games. He should be better, at least from what I saw in VCS and the times that I've scrims with him. So maybe, I don't know, Emo actually improved a lot during last year, from very, very bad to usable during Worlds, to be honest. Yeah, he's actually doing not usable only, but it's fine. He can play in a higher level. So my question is to you guys is, do you think that Emo will play for this split, or No, really?
I think they're just going to commit to learning the Ares style. Like I said, I think it takes time for them to learn this new style. And if they're swapping players out, you're just delaying it. They got Ares in for a reason. He's one of the better carries. Granted, last year he did play with 4 people mid every 2 seconds, so it was kind of cheating. So his stats are mega inflated, but he was good. He was fed resources. But I think if you bring in that sort of player, you kind of need to just roll with it, unless they really do suck. If they are 6th or 7th somehow, and they're just all right, fuck it, let's just rerun 2024, and we'll just climb up the standings a bit. But I think that is quite unlikely.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think so far has played reasonably well, and I don't see a reason to not use him. Also, as you touched on earlier, his Galio game was pretty decent, so he's clearly able to, if they need, play champs like Galio, where you don't need as much resources and play around other areas of the map. And again, it's just easier to, in theory, right? If they're using their subs, then they'll have to be chaining AD carries and mid laners. I think that doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's probably just better to stick with the same core 5, use them day in, day out. If things are going terribly wrong, that's when you look to swap.
Yeah. So the last question with GAM is, do you guys think they can win the split? Oh no, sorry, win the whole year. I mean,
yes.
In split fee.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes or no? Okay.
I definitely do.
Okay, let's go for the next one. So MUKE. They did really good in the first week against CFO, taking down especially the first game. But to be honest, what the fuck is going on with their roster? They have 10 or 11 people. I don't know.
Yeah.
maybe
I expected them to rotate it a bit more already, but it seems like I think they're already set on their starting five, so I don't know what they're doing with everyone.
Yeah, Sword Art's there as translator and tour guide.
Yeah.
Mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can speak some about it. It's actually from what I've talked to some of them is he's actually very hardworking to learn Vietnamese. So maybe we will see he plays in the near future. Yeah, it's kind of a bit exciting. So many people hope that he plays against CFO like just for the revenge things. But this is the first game of the year, so so there's no way he play. But also like from the roster side, Shogun I think is like from the performance he did last week, he's like the best AD carry to be honest. On par with Betty now. And and the concerns on this team is always the top laner Kratos is kind of like don't have hands in few of the games, and also Silong, is that how you pronounce his name?
I've been saying Siu Long, yeah.
Siu Long, okay, yeah. Like those two are very inconsistent. Okay, especially Siu Long. I think he's a very high ceiling to be honest. His pipe game is really good, but in the game 3 against CFO, right, in the real game, like he fucking sucks.
Yeah, I believe he's a rookie.
Like yeah, pretty much. He played a couple games at the end of last year, but yeah, essentially a rookie.
So yeah, I like put him on the same sort of thing with Honkyu, where like Honkyu started off pretty rough, but you don't really judge it too much, right? Like especially with Honkyu, but we've already talked about him. But like with Silong, like he's a rookie coming in. If he's not playing that well, it's like okay, he's a rookie, and like you expect to see improvement over the course of the first year, right? Like you don't expect him to come in and be as good as Woody or anyone else like that. So I think ultimately it's like not that much of a worry that your rookie support isn't playing like an absolute beast. I think it's completely fine. The one thing about the Shogun like being the best AD carry thing that I always worry about, and I've worried about this because of last year, is that people are very quick to like see like a good performance out of an AD carry, and last year it was Cascada in mid, and be like, oh, this guy is just playing really well, and he's like the best mid in the region, right? That was like what people would say about Cascada, because he was genuinely playing very well. But I don't think you get to say that until you see him go against the best of the region, right? Like for my money, it would be Betty. I think Betty's better than Doggo. Once we see Shogun go up against Betty, I think that's when we can really tell what level each of those two are at. I think it's very hard to judge before that.
I think it'll be interesting to just track them in lane. It was at least last year with Vikings, they had Shogun and Bia, and they just 2v2 killed everyone in VCS, which was like, it was really weird. Like every single game, they're just killing people, and it's like really disturbing how that would happen. Mm-hmm. So I think if they can sort of replicate that with their new support, it'd be pretty like indicative of just be like, oh, these guys are fucking legit. But I think Shogun, he gets a lot of stock because he played in some pretty trash teams and was clearly the best AD carry still. So I think it's 22 or 23 Buffaloes. Those teams were not good. Those teams were not paid. Those teams were struggling. And he was still putting up some crazy numbers and very clearly just like 1v9 in games. So I think he gets a lot of like historical stock. And he's also, I think he's like got to be the third most popular Vietnamese player, I guess. He is very, very popular. Well, everyone loves him. So he has a lot of fans behind him, and that kind of pushes the story. Plus, everyone loves the old 2021 MSI, was it? Or 2022? I can't remember. When he killed T1 bot lane. So everyone loves him from then. So he gets that sort of credit, and is kind of stuck, which is funny how narratives stick. But he has kind of followed that sort of level. He's had some up and down years, but I think he's not at the Betty level, because, like you say, you got to beat the guy to be at that level, but he's close. I had him. I think the AD carries in general is just pretty stacked. In general, you got Betty, Doggo, Artemis, Shogun, Eddie. All five of those are very, very strong.
Yeah. But how about Kati? To be honest, like Kati is also like one of the core players in Vikings during their 3CS time. But to be honest, he kind of underperformed during Worlds, right?
Yeah, he was terrible at Worlds. Like terrible.
Yeah. So like, what do you think about him? Like going against like the LCP mid laners, except Fofo. Okay, we all know about that.
I think he'll be good because I think there's a lot of just mages that are going to be played, and that is his comfort zone. Even though people might remember Kati for playing like the set in Worlds with like the set Karthus versus TES, people might think of Kati like that, but his ideal scenario is just playing Orianna Syndra every single game and just playing control mages, which I think will fit the LCP style, because when I look at the names, most of them I look at that and I think, yeah, these people also want to just play some control mages and chill.
Yeah, I think in general, like especially comparing to last year, mid's probably going to be pretty boring. I think it'll be a lot of control mages and sort of playing for team play more so than last year with the AD carries mid and we're just fighting the whole time. That's a lot of fun to watch. I think there's like Fofo being the clear best mid laner. I think it's going to be like a little bit less important based on the champs being played. Obviously, if he just leaps and bounds better than everyone, and you get Syndra Orianna every game, he's just going to hand stiff, and that's going to be a massive problem. But I don't perceive that to be the case, and I think like you can pretty much put in most mid laners and be like, okay, well they're going to be, but mostly fine.
Yeah, like to be honest, for me, like Vikings, the whole roster, like if I exclude Kratos, like the top laner, then they all four of them are very good individually. Like even like Guri performs well in like many cases. Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know what can they pick up other VCS top laners later on in the year, or are there any better top laners, to be honest? Yeah, they
maybe they get a Taiwanese. Can get a Taiwanese top laner.
Oh wait,
so that can teach them.
Or maybe
maybe
Jang will be back.
Jang will be back after UP are eliminated in Spring Split.
Yeah,
he's gonna come in Split 3.
Bro, I want Yi Jung back. That guy was so exciting to watch in lane.
I really wonder if those teams who finished last in LPL Split 2, so they're eliminated from Split 3, if they can come back. But it's like, I imagine that contract is just like ended there. So it'd be pretty funny.
I think it's Riot mandated that your contract ends in November, no matter what.
I don't know if that's gonna happen though.
Terminate.
It's like a weird thing.
Yeah, you can terminate, but it's like you have to be signed till that long because it's until Worlds ends. But in case your team gets there, so you don't.
LPO is LPO, and things work mysteriously.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, I'll be surprised if that's the case. But even so, like, not thinking of that, it's like there are still just other Taiwanese top laners that kind of didn't get a shot. Like Taku always stands out to me, and admittedly, he didn't look as good on DCG as he did on Hellpigs, which is kind of ironic to me. But I think he's like, I don't know. Kratos had a pretty rough first week.
He actually retired. Taco.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well,
it's the kind of weird retirement because Tier 2 is a mess. I suspect a lot of people might commit for Split 3, but Split 1 and 2, a lot of them are checked out because things aren't too great in the system.
Chris Carter also mentioned, I think, openly mentioned he retired yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
it's a sad day.
Maybe they will just get Rest and Sorda, the old duo.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? It's like CFO have the two top laners, and obviously it's the same as last year, but I know both of them are good enough to compete in this league, so it kind of sucks to see that one's just permanently sitting out, or like either one of them sit out at all.
I just like Rest because he plays weird things. Like, I think he's worse, definitely, but he plays fun stuff.
No, but, the Heartsteel Cannon was my favorite.
No, that's so fun. It's against me, right? Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. I started playing that in solo queue after I saw it. It was actually broken. It was so fun.
Yeah. No, I think like speaking of Rest, I think it's very fit into this meta because he always create chaos.
Yes.
Yeah, and
it's very useful to have.
Yeah. Okay, but anyway,
I think Driver does the same, but that guy anyway.
I think it's a more steady side. Not really a chaos one.
Will Driver choke once again? Who knows?
Yeah, the classic.
I think the Driver thing is crazy because last year everyone's like, "Oh, Driver's really good," and then they just played against PSG and he just got shit on. It's like, how can you rate this guy highly when he's like 0-4 in a 1v1 matchup? I can't remember. I think it was like he was playing Gragas or something. It was a crazy matchup, and he was just getting dunked on. It was rough.
I do feel bad about that CFO roster because that's like it just became like Casa and Sword Art were just living mid. Like Gory would actually just be 0 and 8 if not for his jungle and support always being there to bail him out. And then it's like, okay, well Yeah, now like Shun is the most honorable AD carry of all time. By the way, that guy he is always doing well. But he'll never be the guy to carry, which is I don't know.
Yeah,
He's
he
a very
just
chill
plays
Anyway.
guy.
steady. He just plays
He's
steady.
just a
Yeah,
chill
yeah.
guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt bad for that roster because it was just like, oh my god, my mid and stuff are back mid, and like they never get kills for it, but they just make sure that Gory lives on 1 HP instead of dying for his fourth
I think
time.
that team was so funny because you could see just they didn't work well together. Like individually they're good players, and you're just like these guys hate each other.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Have you watched their season-ending VODs?
No.
No,
Oh, you
I
should
can't
use it.
understand it.
Oh wait, don't have English. Oh fuck it.
CFO, the
It's just like
CFO
typing.
socials usually don't. Yeah.
Oh okay. Because like one thing is pretty interesting that they mentioned like during the last game that they play against us. It's like the first 2 games is rest playing right until until the last one, and it seems like rest is really inconfident. He don't think he can beat Jiang.
Yeah.
So like Driver is trying to convince. No, it's not Driver. It's SWAT art. Yeah, like SWAT just keep bumping him up, and it's kind of like a bit toxic, you know. Like there's a discussion on PTT, like the Taiwanese Reddit, like how that things goes, and it's kind of really bad, and like it seems like Brest is just afraid of Jiang, and that's why at the last game they changed back to Driver.
Aura gap.
Yeah.
True. Jiang actually did have that aura. That guy's so funny.
PSG, yeah. He had that aura
Yeah,
except PSG.
True, and Biopanther. Biopanther
Yeah.
made a fool of that guy.
That one random day he had the worst series of his life.
Yeah, no, that was actually crazy.
so
No, the Camille,
No.
I'm sorry. The Camille game and the Renekton. Oh, no, I remember them, man. Oh, that was crazy work. Bro, I remember him just sending it down.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the Camille one, I just remember him sending it down mid, like 4 screens away from anyone on his team to die.
That was a roughie.
Oh dear, that was. I can't imagine being you during that series, Skywalk. That honestly, it was like a 6v4. Jiang was actually playing for Chiefs. It was so funny.
Oh, I remember that like before the games, like 2 days ago or 3 days ago after interview with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like saying like what we're going to go up against like the other teams, but not but not teams.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Cadril was watching that series too. He was co-streaming it.
Yeah.
That's such crazy work, man.
I think the funny thing was once like FAK threw game to it was like a 10k lead or whatever, and like Renekton just like kept diving and dying.
Yeah.
You just knew they were gonna lose the series. Just like it's just a mental thing. I don't know if it's always FAK or just like some teams you just see them losing, you're like, yeah, this team's cooked.
I mean,
That's
like,
OS history being made right there.
I mean, sometimes it's the sports momentum, like even in the traditional sports, like maybe with a good play or good game, then the next one you will just get.
I don't know. I always felt it with your teams. I don't know why.
That's true.
It's just PCS is very
Until the
passive. Like if you have a passive team and they like throw a lead, it just becomes so fucked because they don't know how to play aggressive in the next game, so they just slowly dry out and lose. Which
maybe the Chinese mentality.
Maybe.
Yeah,
it's just PCS mentality. PCS just fucking slowest ass teams. Need some Vietnamese energy. Just fight to the death.
Yeah.
Golden style.
True,
I
we
mean,
saw that in GAM versus Vikings.
Overall, it's interesting that maybe with the additional of like the VCS team, maybe the PCS. I mean, like the original PCS teams that maybe even Talon or CFO will just kind of change up their style to match the like the tempo with them.
Yeah, I think this is one thing we talked about a few years ago. It's like if you just brought a load of good Vietnamese players over to PCS, they would just run over the middle of the table teams with this aggressive style. This middle of the table PCS would have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And they just wouldn't be able to control it. And then like we expected like the top teams to be able to like control it, but maybe you can't. So
but I mean, like that's
interesting.
That's how DCG and me, like we try to replicate. Like we try to do more aggressive plays in like both of us. Like DCG, especially DCG, right? They just keep
DCG.
To do.
Yeah, I never saw. I never saw Jimmy and or Pretender pick and Draven kill us to mid.
Yeah, no, the AD meta fucking sucks again. Fuck me.
Yeah, that seems back.
Yeah. Okay, but anyway, let's talk about Terran. Okay, they changed back from PSG. Kind of sucks
now.
to be honest. I still hope that PSG is here. But
It
whatever.
might come back.
Really?
The way that Sean phrased it in his like what do you call it? Like the start of the year message. He's like they're still in conversation, but just for now they've dropped the name. So I think it might come back eventually. But at least they're still negotiating. That's the way that I got the vibe, and the way that they weren't like, "Oh, we've dropped PSG, blah blah blah." It's like, "Oh, we're still in great connection, and we're going to sort things through." So it might come back.
Yeah, it's still
I
the
hope it
sponsor
does.
of their. It's still the sponsor of their Rainbow Six team. That's
Yeah.
still called PSG Talon R6 or whatever.
As far as I know, like both of them just like didn't know the partnership was like ending, so they just didn't have time to
What the
fix.
fuck? Wait, that's so
Yeah,
funny.
that's
They just didn't have time to like get everything ready.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. So anyway, like Fovo is back from LPL. I mean, as we mentioned before, I think, okay, personally, I think that he's just a way tier above every other millionaire in LCP. So
Yeah.
I assume like he will just keep dominating. And also about Carcer. So after last year we beat him. Okay, I'm
That's
pretty
right.
sure that he told many people that he's going to retire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think everyone knew that behind the scenes. Everyone
but-
was expecting it.
Yeah, but somehow like he's come back again. So I'm not too sure like how he thinks about this year again. Like he just want to, paycheck, or maybe he really wants to win. But I assume he wants to win because I think he's collected enough paychecks already.
Yeah, bro turns up with a house on his wrist every single
Yeah,
week.
like every
He's good.
every game is a goalie before the game start.
Yeah. Yeah. My perception on it is that Talon want international success, and
Yeah.
Junja would always provide them domestic success. And over the last 2 years, every international they went to, because they went to them all, he would get there and be much quieter than he is domestically. And I think while Casa isn't as domestically dominant, he doesn't need to be, because his team is just the best team in the league, I think, on paper. If you had to bet now who's going to come first in the third split, I think maybe all three of us. I know I definitely would have my money on this team.
Yeah.
And so, like, they should be going international, and I think adding in Casa gives you a player that you probably have faith in to at least cause chaos internationally, and, like, not be as static, I feel is the word I want to use for Ginger. So I think it's mainly like, yeah, Casa wants to win. I don't think he's having money problems based on his wrist attire. And for Talon as an organization, I think adding Casa, as long as you do go international, probably gives you a better chance than with Ginger.
Yeah, I also heard that Fofo, I cannot confirm about this news, but it's like Fofo hope to get Carcer instead of Junja.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's actually fair because Junja style does not fit Fofo playstyle. Fofo is like he wants his jungle in mid 24/7, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Carcer can do that, and he's a very like a supportive role. So I mean that's great.
Yeah, the way
Yeah,
I thought of this team, when I heard the rumors like behind the scenes, I knew this roster quite early. They got their business done way before any other team. I know CFO was doing trials for like a month, and PSG was already locked like way early. So this team was like locked very early, and I think there was a very clear identity where, like you say, they want to go for international success, but they've done this in an interesting way where they've gone for a much higher ceiling, but a much lower floor as well. This team has a much higher chance of just completely collapsing. But the goal is, hey, we're probably going to win LCP anyway and make the international event, so let's take that gamble at an international event. If we shit the bed at international, so what? We've done pretty meh at internationals already. But now they've got the chance of doing a bit better. Now, people might think like Fofo's a clear upgrade to Maple, but I think Maple at internationals, even at Worlds, he showed he is just like that guy. When it gets to the big games, he is so good. And then domestically, Ginger would just completely run it for them. So they had this pretty interesting combo of just free win in PCS, and then Maple would show up at internationals. And you had this pretty stable, reliable thing. Now you've got Carcer and Fofo, who they might shit the bed. We don't know. But you expect them to just qualify to the internationals, and then you've got the chance of doing better. And that's kind of what they've gone for. I also think the coaching staff just hated Ginger. Every time I watch that vlog, you go backstage and they're just abusing Ginger. It's like, oh, you can't farm, blah 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 blah, your style, blah 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 blah, and it's just like only Corgi and Ginger talking. No one else is talking in the team. It was so weird. So I think Corgi just really wanted to offload him. I don't know if that's true, but it's just like
It
every
seems
vlog
to
it's
be,
just
yeah.
those two. Yeah, it's just those two fighting.
But also
But I
like
think,
maybe like
yeah, you
Jinja
go.
personality is kind of not that great as a team player. That's what. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
I
word
get
I want to
that
use.
sense. Yeah, he wants to play the game around him. But it's kind of interesting that, at least in my opinion, they haven't changed the staff again. I guess you like keep winning, but I
Yeah.
think every international event, I think PSG has had shit prep. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, trying to do well at internationals, but hey, how about we get one fucking meta read, right? I think the MSI one still tilts me the most. The first game against FlyQuest, they have the vlog, and Corgi's like, "Oh yeah, I told you guys about like this lane swap," and it's like, what do you mean like tell you about? Everyone knew FlyQuest and like G2 and Fnatic were gonna
Yeah.
do lane swaps and stuff, and they just seemed surprised. I was so mad. Because it's like because it was back to back with Worlds 23 when the whole Kaiser shit. So that was like two events in
Oh
a row.
yeah.
I'm like, this coaching staff is completely useless. It's
Yeah.
like you can
Sometimes.
win
Yeah.
domestic, but international, they are one of the biggest reasons they falter.
And also like the draft sometimes it's like, oh, I remember it's against Firecrest, right? Like they
Their
just give,
draft is ass.
they just give all the best champ to Firecrest.
Yep. I think they have a very defined style on like what they think is good. They definitely copy like LCK and LPL.
Yeah.
They haven't tried to make their own style. I hope that they do this more this year. I really think they just need to like reflect on themselves and be like, okay, we need to carve our own identity and then push that through. Are they going to do that? I honestly don't think so. I think they've been like pretty troll in that regard, and they've kept the same three staff for I don't know how many years it's been now, like 3 or 4 years. It
Yeah.
feels like it's been forever. So it's kind of interesting, but there's only so much they can do, right? You win domestically every single time. You don't want to blow the whole thing up, right? So
But
it's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. But also like there are not many
Yeah, there's not many
coaches.
upgrades.
Yeah, I mean
It's like Warhorse is
coaches
the
is a
only
bit,
one.
yeah. But maybe he will one day come back. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. But also there's other interesting news. I believe is about Terran. I think Orker actually joins with the academy. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I've heard some rumors about that he's trying to
I don't think
test
he's
with
gonna
them.
outplay
Yeah,
Spooty.
but also like
Yeah.
okay, so it's very interesting. How to say, off-season story. I've heard that he have a tryout with Sevo for like a month or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's doing fine. But like Sevo always wanted to have a better core, cause a better shot core, and Orca is not it, and actually Jinja also is not a very good shot caller, so that's why they bring Kaiwing in at the last minute.
Yeah, they needed them merged. You could have a baby between Kaiwing and Orca. It'd be the perfect support.
Yeah.
Can play range supports and shot call.
Yeah. Also, I've heard that 665 actually have a tryout with Thailand. Also, I'm not too sure on like the first team or the academy one, but
Okay.
it seemed. But I've also heard like rumors that they want to have one more jungler.
Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But anyway, I still think they will just stick with this and stick with this roster. Yeah.
This team will split. Win split one, easily top two the rest of the year.
Split three, yeah.
I don't know if they'll win all. Like I think GAM can challenge. CFO might. Some other team might randomly, but they'll go to every international, unless Casa is actually watched and just completely runs it down. Like that is the only loose con is just Casa trolling.
Yeah. The only downside of this team. Like
Yep.
all others are pretty good. Okay, anyway, let's move to the last one. So it's TS up Team Securios. Fuck them. Why they always combine the teams together nowadays? And yeah, they have the youngest team on average in LCP. Right. I'm not too sure. I didn't really check every team, but I do think like all the Vietnamese like they add in now, like this year is around 17 or 18 years old, which is very interesting for me because everyone say League is a dead game, and everyone just kind of play mobile nowadays. Oh wait, what the fuck? Is it here?
It's alright.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, fuck it. What the fuck is that?
Scuffed.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, it's interesting. Like, Dyer, Hiso, like, to be honest, I don't really know them well, except that they are Korean, like, 1,000 LP before. And, play in their team. Yeah, it's in the Baby Whales, right? They have been the Baby Whales
Yeah,
team.
Baby Welsh.
Yeah. And we screamed them, like, during the last playoff run, because they are the only teams that keep screaming. So they actually done pretty well in scrims. So I got some hopes for them. Yeah, coming into LCP, and of course with Eddie and Taki. Eddie got banned for like the fixing things, but whatever. He's back now, and they are like one of the better duos in Vietnam. So yeah, like individually they are fine, but can they transit into like the higher level? It's a question mark for me.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't expect them to be competing with like Talon, CFO, or GARM just yet. But like we saw against DFM, right? Like they were against a team that they were better than, and they were pretty clean at winning that game. Obviously, it took maybe longer and was maybe a little bit more scrappy than it should have been. But ultimately, I think for a team that is filled of very young players and rookies, they did exceptionally well up against their counterparts. And like especially, I want to focus on Dyer, who like for me, you know, like on DFM, Aria is kind of the guy that you've got to be scared of, and you don't want to give him a lead. And then Dyer just completely stopped him. Like Dyer just straight won that lane, and very very convincingly too. So I too have a lot of hope for them, but I don't think just yet they should be expected to be beating those sort of powerhouse teams.
Yeah, coming in, I had pretty much no idea how good the Baby Wells players were going to be. I heard they were good in scrims, but the person telling me that was extremely biased. So who am I to say if they were actually good or not? So I thought this team would be pretty bad, despite having a very strong bot lane. I thought if you have these random rookies coming in mid-jungle against the LCP players, I thought it'd be really challenging for them, even though they would have like a winning bot most games. So I think them just being this good is actually a really good sign for them. They can build upon it easily. I think Hero is up and down, you know. Some games he's going to play really well, some games he's going to run it down. It's fine. But I think this team has potential to actually go to an international event if they can surprise teams, because all the other teams are going to have some growing pains and they're a lot more experienced. And I think having youth on your team is actually something quite undervalued. They're very hungry players. All the other teams are kind of old, I'll say. Pretty much every roster is older than any other tier 1 league. They're a lot more set. And when you have these young players, they come in very hungry, they're grinding, they're trying their best. That is the perfect scenario for you to have a pretty crazy run. So I think there is a good chance for them to make a run, but also you coming in, we expected this team to be near the bottom of the league. We didn't think they were going to
be honest, I'm surprised that they won DFM, to be honest.
Yeah, that was a big shock to everyone. So if they can keep the momentum this week, we can actually be like, oh, wait a minute, this team has something going for them.
Yeah.
But if not, if they start to regress in it, it's just the bot lane show. It's kind of what we expected. We expect them to be like around the 5th, 6th, 7th place mark. I don't think they'll be last based on seeing the other few teams in the first week.
Yeah.
But they got a big task today. They're against Talon. I think that's a good litmus test. If they get completely blown out, we're like, okay, they're a weaker team. But if they actually put up a fight against Talon, I think everyone's going to be like, oh, hang on a minute, this team is actually middle of the pack to the top now. So I think this week is really good for them because they get to play against Talon and Chiefs. So if they just get smashed by PSG and then smash Chiefs, we're like, bang, they're right in the middle.
Yeah, middle.
But if they, like, it just depends on how they're doing, right? So
yeah,
this is the perfect week to really get a gauge on how good they actually are.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have concerns coming, like, for them going into the meta because there's so many lane swap nowadays. And, like, usually the younger players don't know how to deal with it. And also, like, Hero is kind of a carry top laner for me.
Aurelia.
Like, yeah, Aurelia, maybe like the Jax guy, yeah, something like that, and like the Aatrox, something like that. So I'm a bit worried, but hey, at least they kind of figured it out. So we will see.
Yeah, I think it's just up in the air, and again, as Molecule said, I think we'll find out a lot this week because they have probably the best team, and then one of the worst teams. So, I guess we'll just find out today. It's pretty hard to go off against DFM, I think, but certainly they don't seem like an 8th place team based on their performance.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about like expectations. Okay, of this week games. So the first one on today is that DFM versus CHF. So who guys have?
I think. Oh, you go, Molecule. I think we know my answer. So
he's gonna pick a Chiefs 2-0, 15-minute stomps. Japanese fans crying in the streets. No, I think it's a coin flip. Like if DFM, if they seem a lot more settled with their new AD, I think they can do well. I think Chiefs, they should be the better team coming into it, but I think these two teams are the two that are struggling the most at the moment. I won't say too much about like what's going on between both teams, but I'd say both teams they're very up for it and kind of do or die for both teams. So I think there's a lot of pressure, which is kind of interesting, and you can kind of see what type of teams react well to the pressure. And a team which has been around for a longer time in DFM, there are a lot more established players and maybe comfortable with each other. So I think pressure might suit them a little better than Chiefs. But Chiefs having this kind of big pressure game on them so early might be a little bit scary and daunting to them, and hopefully it's not like a make or break moment, but if they do lose, they might just be like, shit, yes, split one's kind of done for us. So I hope Chiefs win, because I think that gives them like a bit more longevity to the split one. Whereas DFM, if they did lose, they're like, sure, we're building, it's fine, we've got a new AD, we can grow. But for the sake of the league, I hope Chiefs win, but I think it's a coin flip. I have no idea who wins this.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Oh, you go.
You go.
No, you go. I insist.
Yeah. No, okay. So it's more like I think this will be a very close games, to be honest. Maybe it's bad for Ben because maybe it will again you will go back to home at 7. If the things is going on. Because to be honest, I think both teams are really really close right now. And as I mentioned that before, I think DFM could have a higher performance, a better performance. They really just fumbled last week, and maybe the mentally like go on or like others, they will be better this week. But also it may go worse and they just get fucked.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I don't know the relative strength of the roster because based on, last week, one went up against Talon, one went up against Team Secret Wales.
Yeah.
But I will say that, like, the first game that the Chiefs did, the Chiefs played against Talon, was about the same level or the same closeness as the game that DFM had against Team Secret Wales. And I think to me that says that probably the Chiefs should just be the better team. I know, like, just person for person, I'm like certain that Biopanther's a better top laner than Ray Farkey based on watching them last year.
That's true.
So, like, I'm certain of that. And I also think, like, the only part of the map where I would be confident in being like, okay, this is the better part of the map for DFM. Actually, I'm not even confident, but like the lane phase for Arya is probably better than the lane phase for Jimmy, and I don't even think he's necessarily a better player. But like I think the lane phase alone, Arya, if he can make enough room, then that could be like how DFM win. But I think other than that, I wouldn't be confident in putting anyone else on DFM as the stronger player than the person from Chiefs. And I think that alone, especially this early on into the split, can just take you very far. So I think the Chiefs should win. I don't think it's going to be like a stomp by any means, and it should probably be like a 2-1. But I do think the Chiefs should be favored to win this one. And ultimately, like, there's going to be some communication issues for the Chiefs, but ultimately also for the side of DFM. It's not like everything's been worked out, right? We're on week number 2, and their roster only just got formed last week. So I don't think they're going to be communicating to that high of a level either.
Yeah, I would just like to say one thing that I haven't talked about so far today is lane swaps kind of ruin about 6 of these teams' games. Like, only the top 2 teams really know how to do a lane swap well. I won't include the Vietnamese teams because those lane swaps are just horrendous. But so many games are just won or lost off a lane swap, and these teams don't know how to do them or respond to them or anything. So it's really just like, if we came in and these 2 teams did a handshake and they were like, gentleman's agreement, no lane swap today, don't be a bitch, I think that favors Chiefs. But when you just add lane swaps in, you just add this variety, and neither of these teams react well to them. Like, no team in PCS or LCP except the Taiwanese teams seemingly has any clue how they should work. Especially like the Vikings Gam series. I think both games, Vikings had a ridiculous lead in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just these lane swaps are so disgusting and so random, and I don't think anyone knows what's going on. So these games are way more coin flippy than they should be. So I think taking any sort of like stock in how well teams are doing is even more difficult. So I think just having lane swaps in this series where these two teams definitely suck at lane swaps is pretty rough. Because like there might be a lane swap, no team knows what's going on, and it's like, 5 minutes in, the game's over.
Well,
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, like the only it sucks for Ben. So he'll be casting, and he's like no action, and they're just like, what the fuck are they doing? Everyone is just kind of recall.
At least the Vietnamese lane swaps are kind of fun. There's like a pike mid and like killing people. There's like shit going on.
Yeah.
At least it's fun.
Yeah, I actually think this year's lane swaps are fun. I like there is actually more action. I swear this year, like there's so much more action than if we just had standard 2v2, 1v1, 1v1. Because like I think the best example of it is the Junja Zyra game, where we just started having 3v3 fights every single time Junja got topside. You know, every single jungle clear there was another 3v3 fight, and it's like that doesn't happen in standard lanes like ever. Usually junglers path bot, both junglers sort of stare at each other, and the lane remains the same.
Are you telling me you did not enjoy Junja full clearing to top lane dive every single game last year? Are you
and it just worked. No, it's the craziest thing, man. He's on fucking Nocturne, and he is walking top and getting a double kill every single game at level 4.
Yeah.
Every single game.
It's so fucked.
That was fun.
Like it was actually unreal to me. It was like 3 series in a row where he's just on Nocturne, walks top, and gets a double kill at level 4. It's like, man, this champ is not supposed to get a fucking kill before level 6, and you're hoping to get that level 6 kill. This guy's just
like he did it one game, and he wasn't even level 4. I think he was like level 2 or level 3.
But that was an Arja Udyr classic. That was, but I also remember like
so good.
Arja is the only person in this league allowed to pick Udyr, by the way. Like the way he's plays this champ is so much different from anyone else. You know, like it's too common. Yeah, it's just too common. You see an Udyr, he's like, oh, sick, man, you've got lane priority, and he's just sitting outside his tower, like, sitting there. Whereas this guy pushes his fucking lane, walks straight down into the enemy team's wolves, walks into mid lane. Bro, he appears bot lane. I remember one game he'd won all 3 lanes by 3 minutes as Udyr top. It's like, yeah, it's just like this guy is a fucking psychopath. He uses his lane priority to leave his lane as soon as possible, whereas everyone else just sort of stands outside their tower or walks in and gets a grump ward. It's like, okay, sick, man.
PTSD from his Udyr. There was like one game against FAK. It's like he almost killed Azir, and I can't remember what jungle was playing. And like top mid had to TP back to lane 1 minute into the game. And it's like, this.
Yeah, fuck it.
This game's over.
Okay, so sometimes. Oh, sorry. Oh, I was gonna say he just like he'll be on blue side or no red side and just start the blue side's wolves. It's like, man, this guy is like, he does not give a fuck, bro. It's so good.
Yeah, it segues into the next series, which is like Taiwan Secret Worlds today.
We discussed many.
Yeah, we think this one should be.
This should be a wipe.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, like, one thing that I want to add is, I hope that Talon can show more aggressive. Like, as you mentioned, as Ben mentioned, like before, like the last time that in the Talon versus Chief, like the first game is kind of Chief hold it up for the most of the game, like at least around 20 minutes. But it's also like, I hope Talon can try to be more aggressive and play like their ceiling. I think it's just too passive for them.
I mean, it's winter week 1. Every team's slow as fuck. LEC games are like 50 minutes long.
No, that's
There's
a fucking fiesta.
No. Like I think it's just across regions. Every game is a lot longer and competitive. Whereas my solo queue games feel the same.
Speed it up and it's slowed it way down. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I also think like we get Voracious every single game, right? And that's just
hell yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But like, I feel like the Voracious buff is being misused so much because like it feels like you should get a tempo advantage, and then half the time we are banging our head against the wall, and you'll get some sums, and then nothing happens, and those sums come back up.
Teams are a bit too pussy with it. You just need to like send it sometimes.
No, but there's so many bad sent. Like I'm trying to do the reviews on all the LCP games, like on my channel, and like, oh my fucking god, the time of the occasion that they wasted is just fucking insane.
But as long as you're not like, there was at least 2 examples in LEC where they're doing Baron and then they die with the buff, and then you just hand over Baron. Those ones are objectively terrible. But if you're just like sieging a lane and you just randomly tower dive, it like almost always works. But if you just start Baron and just lose, you're just a fucking idiot, which has happened a lot. So I think LCP teams they just need to send it down a lane, just do something with it. But I think one thing that I guess Ben maybe don't know yet is the Sunday or Saturday games. They changed
Sunday,
patch.
yeah, Sunday.
Sunday is going to be 15.2 instead of 15.1, so that will be even more voracious attackants.
Oh.
So you're never going to see the other one. I don't know why the patch changes in the middle of the week. No one has a clue why. But maybe on your Sunday games there'll be a little less Victor and a little more Yumi.
No, your Sunday games will be more technical pauses, cause changes to the new patch.
Oh, true. New patch, technical pause. Get ready.
Get ready, bro.
No, so my understanding is like most of the problems aren't actually with the game. It's been like with the location. I don't know this for sure, but that's been my understanding. But like that's why like they couldn't fix it between like Friday to Saturday because it would require them like pulling things apart and then putting them back up. So I'm hoping
the layout thing just sucks.
Yeah, I'm thinking that hopefully, they've had a week, they've had between Sunday and now to get it all sorted, and they can actually make some meaningful changes. It should hopefully be working a little bit better. I don't know, but that's what I've heard anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's move to the next one. It's on Saturday. SoftBank against Vikings. Who you guys have?
I'm gonna say SoftBanks because it defies logic. Because I think this game is going to be messy. It's going to be a bit of a joke. Like, Vikings should be the better team. But I think this is like one of the games where you're just like, yeah, SoftBanks, they can just randomly win. But Vikings should be, like, if you were to do, like percentage-wise, I'd give it like a 65-35 Vikings. But I think this is just like one of those funny series where it's just going to be really, really messy. So there's a chance for SoftBanks to win. Also, they've had an extra week to maybe settle. I don't know if they've moved into the house yet. So hopefully they're a bit more settled and things might be going well for them. But I will just pick SoftBanks just for fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like, in general, the bot side of Vikings is stronger. And I think Sealong, while a little inconsistent, I think he did perfectly fine. Like, especially when he was on his Rakan. I think his Rakan game was really good. He found nice angles. But honestly, the weak spot for Vikings seems like Kratos, and I guess if Evie doesn't play as uncharacteristically poorly as he did last week, then he should be completely fine, and I just think he should be the objectively better player. And we've seen him in the PCS in the past few years and in the LGL, right? When he is just a better player, he's actually able to carry games. So I think I agree Vikings probably should win just off the back of sort of their bot lane, and if Evie does well enough, though, I think they can win. I would take Vikings sort of 2-1, though.
Yeah, me too. Because I think, like, SoftBank still got a long way to fix for their communication and, like, whatever, the synergy things that they're missing right now. Yeah. Okay, so the next one will be a banger one. GAM versus CFO.
I will say GAM win because I will message Levi to play Wukong.
Leak the strategy. Okay,
I'm going to say Levi, go play Wukong. Go get your free win. Like, I think I don't know if he's hiding it or something. Like, he knows the champion's good. Everyone knows there's an instant win if he picks it. But saying that, I've been in like hundreds of scrims with him. He doesn't like to pick it unless it's a good spot. He's very specific, so when he does pick it, it is a free win. But I don't think he understands how insanely good he is on it, so he can pick it in shit spots and still win. So I think that's one thing they could learn to do. He is very specific on his champs. He doesn't like to randomly just smash things in. But I think, hey, if they get a Wukong spot, it's a free win. They start the series 1-0.
Maybe he got a PTSD from last Worlds.
I don't know.
Well, would you guys also agree over at least the last 2 years? I mean, just Junji as a player is also one of his best champs, because at least that's my perception.
Junja Wukong is like one of the best.
It's insane. Yeah, I think either one of these teams could pick Wukong. And honestly, while I don't take much stock in the 1v1s generally, this could be a series that it matters, and it's precisely for that pick. Because I think Junja is a fucking insane Wukong. Like the things that he manages to do with the clone is pretty insane. Like same as Levi, don't get me wrong, but it's like whoever wins this 1v1 actually could just decide who wins the series because they'll get 1-0 up based on being able to pick Wukong and then try and make a a team.
I don't think either of these teams would first pick Wukong. They are way too like serialized or like LCK copycats to pick
we
Wukong
have to
first.
pick Ash. Oh
yeah, we need to play Ash.
Jace is open. Jace is open. Jace is open.
Actually, not much Kalista is kind of surprising to me. Like, Kalista in like LPL and
PCS was very common, like previous years. PCS,
yeah.
Kalista,
I still think Kalista is one of the best AD carries nowadays, but I don't know why it's open in many games.
It was specific players though. It was like Betty, Fing. Trying to think back. Actually, like those are the two that stick out. Those were the players that, like, if Kalista's open, they're first picking it every single time, and every other AD carry seemed
where Kalista was like not as strong. But if you go back like a year or two more, like 2022 or 2023, just genuinely broken. Every team was like, "Fuck it, we're not playing it. Ban every game."
Yeah, like no, I mean like nowadays LPL is also like keep banning. So,
but LPL has the ability for their supports to actually play Renata or Nico.
Nico.
It does not, which makes Kalista infinitely worse if you can only play like Leona, Nautilus shit. You need to be able to play Nico, Renata, any other combos. You need to have that, and I just think the teams here don't, so it makes the pick a lot worse.
One team did play Nico, right? Was it DFM from memory?
One
team played Nico, and it looked terrible, but they didn't play it. I think it was DFM. From memory,
I mean Nico is
there was one Nico
very good with Kalista, to be honest. Like with Ash or with Varus is kind of
or you played man. Yeah,
I also think it's fine with Caitlyn.
Talon played it. They played Kate.
Oh right,
yeah. That one.
Yeah, the Nico versus yeah, that's smart.
No, the Caitlyn works well with Nico too. It's just so kind of dominating in lane.
Yeah, but overall, I think it's a banger game anyway for Gam and CFO. Maybe again 3 games. Yep. Yeah, sucks for ban.
True. I would think Gam win this one though. I'm gonna go with Gam.
I think actually speaking of the 1v1, it may depends on like who win the side selection.
Yeah, that's what I think too. But I mean, I would go with. I actually think I'll go CFO just because I think the weak spot, like the only person that looks particularly weak is Hongq, and I don't think Cuddy looks. Like at least in that week, it doesn't look like he's leaps and bounds better than Hongq. Sorry, maybe top lane, but I don't see Rest or Driver ending to Kaya just yet.
Yeah, but yeah, I actually will go with CFO also because like they're homies. But yeah, and also I don't believe Gam to pick it up that quick, to be honest.
Yeah,
I still think they have a very rough week 1. Like compared, and yeah, maybe after the Chinese New Year they'll be very good, but not now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Okay, the Sunday game. So the first game will be Secret Rails against Chief again. I would give it to Secret Rails. I think they would just beat the fuck out of them, to be honest. Sorry, Ben.
Yeah, I'll go with Secret Rails.
Yeah, sorry, Ben.
Based on week 1.
Yeah.
Based on what we've seen.
But I have to as well, man. I have to as well. No, they looked fucking insane. Like they destroyed DFM. It was, I don't know, it was super cool to see.
Yeah, pretty simple one. And then the final one is Talon DFM, which is
okay, that's even more simple.
That's gonna be a nice quick Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, except the technical pauses that you will have a patch.
Technical pause longer than game time.
Yeah. I mean, I think because Team Secret Wales are rookies, there's a chance that series does go longer than it should, but I think true. Team Secret Wales. But Talon and DFM, I think, should be the biggest one-sided matchup of the week. I think, like, if it's not, then that's saying more of a problem for Talon than it is saying compliments for DFM, I'd imagine.
For both of them, I just expect a more aggressive games.
Do you remember the Carson Lee Sin last year? I think it was spring? I can't remember.
Was it against Frank?
In and just fucking ran it down.
No, it's not.
No, it wasn't against Frank. Against Frank, he completely shit on them.
Is it Beyond? Like in the...
I'll have to look. I remember Carson came back to PCS and I was really excited. He picked Lee Sin and just ran it down.
Yeah.
Mercilessly inting for every single Raptor respawn. And I was like, this guy is ass.
No, that's based. I remember against Frank where like Frank were like, okay, they're gonna win this series, and then Wako gets Lee Sin kicked into the enemy team.
Oh yeah.
Classic.
They're, oh wait, it's not one of the last game in summer. Yeah.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I
One of the
remember.
last game in summer. Yeah.
I don't.
He still can perform, but he's just not inconsistent. Very inconsistent.
Yeah. He's got Ivern. Give him Ivern. No, actually, do you guys remember the game he was on Ivern and he flashed to get the the Scuttle Crab and died? He pulled off, what's it, guys? Blabber. He did a Blabber play, but instead of being on like, yeah, except instead of being on like Nidalee, he was on either Ivern or Maokai. And it just lost the game on the spot. It was so beautiful. It was such a jungler maneuver.
I just really hope he can be fine. Like talent only needs him to be fine. He don't need to do any.
I mean,
good plays, whatever.
Yeah, I think he will be fine because ultimately I think Fofo's a better player than Gory, and I swear half the reason why he looked bad last split was because his entire game was like, okay, I need to make sure my mid lane doesn't die 10 times in lane. Like that's what it felt to me watching the games. Like obviously,
no, but
I watched every single one of them.
He's pretty bad also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
So there's like so many concerns around him. I mean, just compared to Jinja,
Yeah, I mean, Jinja is just much more solid.
You find
I think that wraps everything up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
mostly.
don't think there's too much to go over.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah, we should do it sometimes. Maybe I don't know, once per week or whatever. Without this also.
Maybe wait. When's the break? The break is next week,
Next
right?
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next week. So quick.
And then we get the super weeks.
Oh, 4 days
That's
per
right.
week. 4 technical pauses. You're so fucked.
No, it'll be fixed by then. Don't
Nah,
worry.
I think it should be. I think honestly, I have confidence it'll be all sorted by tonight. So,
Same.
and if it's not, then the whole week off will almost certainly be fine.
I remember like before. I think in PCS right before, like every time when there patches change, it's just disaster. Yeah.
Classic.
In the game.
Yeah. At least, last week there was no real in-game problems. You know, there's actually one thing where in the Talon Chiefs game, there was some intercom issue, and it like caused players to be able to hear the other team's comms.
What the fuck?
That's why they paused in-game
That's a
for
good
that
one.
one. So like that's what I mean. It's like not the game that's going wrong. It's just like there's
outside.
Yeah, so like hopefully the week off, like, I mean, I have faith that they'll be able to fix it
I
all
think the
up.
weird thing was the pause was always between the series. Like series 2 starts and they're getting set up, and it's like, oh, we've got an hour-long pause. I don't know like what that issue could be. It was like it seems like it's like team specific of every time you set it up. There's some like hardware issue or whatever it might be.
The mic. You said about the mic, because I can share a very funny story. Is about Kaiwing. Like every time when he go to the on stage studio matches, his microphone will have problem. Like every fucking time.
Right.
Like
now they use the same mics now. But they use the same mics now. Like the mics don't change out between player anymore. So it shouldn't be. I mean, I don't know. Ultimately,
I mean, like in PCS or like even during back in LMS,
right.
it's the same. I don't know. It's not like some
loud.
player's voice. Like I don't know, it's the magnetical thing or something like that. It just they always the mic just can't get it.
Can't pick it
and
up.
maybe some of them is like very fucking loud, like Kaiwing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Just breaks
I
it.
don't know. Yeah. It's always like that.
Oh. Either way, hopefully it's all sorted. It's just better for everyone.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it. So thank you guys. Yeah, I will
No, thank you.
now. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Awesome. Thank you.